Hello again, listeners and readers. It's Ben from Pixel Judge. Today I'm speaking with Hugh Jeremy from Unknown Worlds, the team behind Natural Selection, Zen of Sudoku, and Dakota. He'll be answering some of the questions we have regarding the upcoming Natural Selection 2. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you, Ben, for taking an interest in natural selection too.
Why don't we begin with some of the basic history behind Unknown Worlds and behind the Natural Selection games for those who are new to it? What inspired and drove you all?
That's a tricky one because it's natural selection was released 10 years ago as a mod for Half-Life. So Unknown Worlds didn't exist back then. There was no studio making natural selection. It was driven by Charlie Flarer Cleveland. He goes by the name Flarer online, who is the co-founder of Unknown Worlds. He put that out. He spent 2 years locked in his apartment coding a way to make that mod happen with the help of some other awesome people. And in 2006, he decided that, you know what, natural selection was such a success, and it was such a success with about 300,000 people playing it, that it was worth trying to make a full-on standalone sequel, and that's where Unknown Worlds was born. And it was co-founded by Max and Charlie, and here we are today, 6 years on, about to release Natural Selection 2.
So you mentioned it did come out 10 years ago in 2002, and it had quite the positive reception. So the sequel is now nearly finished with a release date of October 31st. So what aspects of the game do you think have been the most time-consuming during development?
I think the most time-consuming aspect of this development is not the game. It's the thing that's more exciting than the game, which is the Spark engine, which is the engine that Natural Selection 2 is running on. It's a brand new engine developed in-house by effectively one man, Max, the technical director and co-founder. And that has been definitely the most time-consuming thing. It's also the thing that's produced the most benefits. But the game itself has been built in conjunction with the engine, and that, while not easy, was definitely less time-consuming than the engine itself.
You all did switch to the Spark engine in 2008 because of licensing and flexibility. I think you all were originally using the Source engine, correct?
Yes, but we didn't switch because of licensing.
Okay.
The licensing arrangement was fine. That was all happy. Everyone was happy. Valve's a very generous company in that regard. But the switch was simply that every engine is different. There's no engine that's the best engine. CryEngine 3 is very good at certain things. The Source engine is very good at certain things. Unreal is very good at certain things. And each engine is appropriate for a different type of game. There wasn't an engine out there that was really appropriate for what Charlie and Max and everyone else wanted Natural Selection 2 to be. And so Spark Engine has been created to be that. And moving away from Source was... there were some, there were things that Source just couldn't do that we wanted to do. And that's not to say Source was not a good engine. It was just that Spark is a very different type of engine to Source.
Well, that's great. It seems like it's a very ambitious project then, because what you're doing with Spark then is you're creating your own engine that allows you to craft Natural Selection 2 in a way that meets your vision for the game itself. So do you think you've really been able to do that with the Spark engine?
Absolutely, Ben. You're bang on right there. There have been no limits with Natural Selection 2 because the engine is being written from scratch. So, for example, one thing that Spark can do is all the environments are fully dynamically lit. There's no static lighting in Spark versus Source, which, not saying this is better or worse. Again, it's just different and it's better for other things. Does statically light its environments, and you compile a map before you play it. That's meant that we can do things like have the power be able to be cut in entire rooms. So, for example, an alien could take down the power node and cut off all the lights. It's pitch black, and none of the structures work, and it's a very terrifying environment. Another side to that coin is also that mapping on Spark is very, very fast, because a mapper doesn't have to compile the map to see the result. It's instantly previewed because it's all dynamically lit, and that kind of fast iteration stuff that allows small numbers of people to create big content very quick is at the core of what Spark is.
Well, that sounds great. It sounds solid then. Do you all plan on licensing that engine then?
We're not going to turn into a licensing company or a technology company, that's for sure. So when I say that, I mean Unreal, for example. If someone wants to license Unreal, there's a huge support staff behind that. It's a very much an in-depth process. You get product support. That requires a lot of staff, a lot of expertise, and it's a big undertaking. What we would like to do, though, is to say to anyone that wants to create a project on Spark that yes, we would talk on a one-to-one basis, and we'd obviously want to come to terms that would be good for small independent developers, especially that are looking for a leg up and are looking for an engine that would be appropriate for them, for a small team, and that don't want to pay, you know, millions of dollars in licensing or whatever it would be to use something. So we think there might be a small niche for Spark. It's not going to be a huge focus for Unknown Worlds, but we're excited by the possibility. What we are more excited about, though, is the fact that people can create games already using Spark. They already have. Obviously, they don't sell them, but because NS2 is so ridiculously moddable, with the source code being open source and all that, games are already being produced by a lot of people. There's some really exciting stuff out there.
Right, and that leads perfectly into my next question, which is when it comes to modding tools, it sounds like there are already some going around out there. Are you going to be publishing any additional toolkits or anything when the game comes out?
I love that question. Ben, it's really cool you've asked that, because I can already tell you that they're all out there, and they've always been out there, and they'll always be out there. Everyone that has Natural Selection 2 installed on their computer has the development tools in their Natural Selection 2 directory. They're there by default. They're included with every copy of the game. Ever since the original alpha release, they've been there, and they will be there for everyone that ever buys the game. So that includes everything: map editor, animation tool, cinematic editor, which is a bit like Source Filmmaker, which is what we use to create our trailers in Engine. There's heaps of tools in there. Obviously, there's the scripting tool Decoder, which we use to actually write all the game code, which is open source as well. You can open all that up with Decoder or even Notepad if that's what you want to do. So they're all out there, and they'll always be out there.
How did you all come to decide then on using Steam as the sole distributor of the game? And were you all at any point approached by other digital download services?
Steam is... there's always been a very good relationship with Valve, because the original NS was on Gold Source. And, you know, it might have led to a couple of hundred copies of Half-Life being sold. You never know. So Valve has always been very nice to Unknown Worlds. They've been very supportive. And it was a natural fit to use the Steam service as the back end for selling the game. And it's not so much, obviously it's great to be on the Steam store, and we're very appreciative, we're very thankful to Valve for allowing us to be on the Steam store. But also there's the back end of the content distribution. So they've been doing the distribution through Steam of all the alpha and beta builds for the last 2-3 years. They're distributing the game obviously via Steam. There's a lot of ancillary services behind it, server listing. All of that is coming through the Steam service. Now, however, it's not an exclusive thing, and Steam has very kindly allowed us to put up Steam keys for sale on other websites. So there's a possibility that people that would rather purchase from another outlet could purchase from another outlet, and then we are in active discussions with various outlets to sell Steam keys there. But Steam's, it's a great fit for NS. It works well in terms of server listing and content distribution. Valve's always been very kind to us, so it's just a natural fit that we're on that platform.
All right, so I've got a two-part question now. Let's talk markets and consumers. So, how do you feel about the publicity the game has gotten so far, and what are your sales goals? Are you looking to break even and simply provide the public with an unforgettable sequel, or would you like to maybe fund a continuation of the Natural Selection series, or even an entirely new IP?
All of the above. It's very much the case that it's the dream that Unknown Worlds will proceed past October 31st, and then enough copies will be sold to allow us to move on to not only other projects, but possibly another IP maybe down the track, another Natural Selection maybe down the track. But the most important thing post-release of Natural Selection 2 is the development that will start on day one after we've all recovered from the launch party. And that development is Natural Selection 2. This is not a game that will be released on October 31st and then forgotten about or left to an occasional patch every 2 months or 3 months or something. We've released 75 plus builds of this game since it went up on alpha publicly. We are not about to stop just because we've passed a date on Halloween. It will continue. It will continue for a very long time. We'll continue to add content for free. There'll be maps, game content, mods. Oh, sorry, not mods. Maps, game content, modes. All sorts of stuff is going to be coming. There's huge numbers of features we want to put in post-release. Now, of course, to do that, we do need to sell copies. It's a business reality that the company can't continue if copies aren't sold. So the answer to your question is we'd like to sell as many copies as possible, because we would like to, A, we'd like the Natural Selection experience to be shared by as many people as possible. B, we want to make the Natural Selection 2 experience better and better and better for the entire foreseeable future.
So then publishers, do you have active communications with any publishers, or have you kind of strayed away from that and tried to remain independent entirely so far?
It's the nature of the company that I'm sure Charlie and Max they like the idea of staying independent. There are benefits to that. There are also challenges. There are big challenges. The sort of image of publishers as the big, mean, scary corporations that just devour indie developers and destroy them is not entirely accurate. There are definitely, you occasionally do get approaches by publishers. They want to talk to you. Hey, what's this cool game you've got? Right now, there isn't a need. Unknown Worlds is doing okay without a publisher. Obviously, there's investors that have contributed to the project, but right now it's all tickety boo. And if we sell decently, it will continue to be. We're not a company that says, oh my gosh, we'd never ever talk to a publisher because they're all evil. But at the same time, we're a company that thinks, hey, being independent has got some serious benefits, and we would like to retain those benefits if we at all can.
That's understandable. So then Natural Selection 2, according to its Wikipedia page, is funded largely by those investors you were talking about, kind of informal or angel investors is the term. I don't think Kickstarter was around when Natural Selection 2 first went into development. But now that it is around, do you see Unknown Worlds possibly getting involved there in the future?
Well, the fun thing is we actually did do a Kickstarter before Kickstarter was even in existence. The development of Natural Selection 2 was mostly, and when I say mostly, I don't mean in absolute terms, I mean in terms of what the funding source that was most important to getting Natural Selection 2 to where it is today was the crowdsourcing Kickstarter-style funding model. So way back in 2009, there was a pre-order program for Natural Selection 2 where the response was astounding. A very significant and workable amount of funding was raised to allow the project to continue, and that funding is still being used today. So while there have been other investors of various kinds, of which I won't go into detail, that was at the core of the project, is that Kickstarter style model of having people contribute to a project they want to see.
Was the Kickstarter project based on your all's website or the crowdsourcing? How did you facilitate that and launch that? That was all on your website?
Yeah, it was all on Unknown Worlds websites. I mean, the press was very kind to us. You guys, I mean, who knows? Maybe Pixel Judge actually put something out back then. But the press in general was very supportive of that. The word got out that this was out there, and I think a lot of NS fans thought, well, not only is this an opportunity to maybe contribute to NS2, it's also a lot of fans, including myself actually, because I definitely wasn't on the project back then. I felt like I was paying for NS1, and the chance of NS2 was the bonus that came with it. So it was an organic promotion, and it was on our website, and it was very successful. And to this day, we're incredibly thankful to everyone that pre-ordered. And the project just would not exist without that. It wasn't something that was going to be picked up by a big publisher or funded entirely by angel investors or anything like that.
As far as continued support goes, are you and your team looking to release any future expansion packs, or are you thinking about content patches at the moment, or are you all focused specifically on launching and supporting kind of post-launch right now?
Oh, well, it's a combination because we're absolutely focused on launching and post-launch support. But when we say post-launch support, we don't mean just bug fixing. We have been releasing new content almost every single patch, the last 75 builds of the game we've released. This is very much a bi-monthly thing. And it would probably maybe slow down to monthly post-release, depending on the stability of the game. But it'd be very much continuing post-release. And we're not just going to put out bug fixes, we're going to be putting out new content. So this will just arrive on your Steam, in your Steam game library, and you won't have to pay for it. It's not a new expansion pack, it's just there. For example, there's the map Discovery and Descent and the entire Biodome art set, which will spawn multiple maps. All of those will just come to you. Now, a long time down the track, maybe there'll be a new NS something or other, which is, a nominal price is charged for it because it's really big and it really deserves to stand on its own. But that would have to be a very significant thing. I mean, I only say that not to rule out possibilities because you never know, but the focus is post-release to add more content. Think of Team Fortress 2. You bought right. Team Fortress 2 once, way back when. You just got new content forever, and eventually it went free to play, of course, but if you ignore that part and just look at the early few years, constant new content. That's what we want to do. We want to do new content all the time, and you just get it. It's yours. You already own the game.
What kind of content are we talking about? Obviously, you mentioned maps, but weapons, new class modes, or even new factions or races?
A new faction or a race would definitely be a huge undertaking, so I can't promise that kind of thing. But absolutely, the new weapons, new abilities for life forms, especially new visual things. For example, one of the things we want to do is add visual indicators for which ability an alien has, things like that. So it's very real content. It's not just bug fixes. It's not just, hey, you released a broken game. It's been a year now. Are you finally going to fix this? It's very much a case of new content. There's a lot of new game ideas rolling around. There's always also mod content can get incorporated officially in the game. We've already done that. We've had the map Summit and Veil that were created by community members and then taken on board officially. So there's a possibility for modders to become official parts of the game as well, with game modes and content. So there's a huge variety of stuff that will be going in.
That's fantastic. So what do you prefer? Do you feel more at home in the commander's chair or on the battlefield? Or do you spend most of your time hopping around, slicing and dicing terrified Marines?
It's a tricky one, Ben. I like the commander mode. I really do. Back when I was not working at this company, what really attracted me to this game and the idea of this game, and way back at the original Natural Selection, what attracted me was the fact that this is a game about leadership. Now, there are games out there that will provide you with every experience under the sun. You can go to war in Iraq. You can drive race cars around a racetrack. You can go into space. You can fly spaceships. You can shoot aliens and defend Earth from alien invasion. What you can't do out there, what's a really hard experience to have, is leadership of other human beings, and of course being led as well, which is not just a submissive thing. It's very much about teamwork, being led and having a leader. So this is what this game provides, that's kind of off on a tangent and not available anywhere else. So yes, I feel very at home in the Commander Chair. I think it's a great experience. It's a new experience. It's one where you're really relating to your fellow human being. It's not like StarCraft where I love StarCraft, by the way. I'm not trying to say it's better than StarCraft. I'm just using it as a counterpoint. You select a unit in StarCraft and you click, that unit does it. It's got no choice. It's directed. It's an autocratic system. In Natural Selection 2, it's a leadership system where clicking a unit and giving an order implies further depth behind that. Maybe that person is going to say, why? Why, Hugh, are you ordering me to go into this alien hive? I'm going to die in there. And you say, mate, I know you're probably going to die, but I need you to go in there. I'm going to give you a med pack in there. I need you to go in there because we need to see what their technology is. We need to scout in there, do it for the teammates. So it's very much about leadership, and that's what's so cool.
It's unique, and I like it, and it really can be, I guess I could relate it to one thing and one thing only that I can think of, and that's Battlefield 2's very popular command structure, where they had people dropping supply drops and commanding people around the map. But that was very rudimentary, and it wasn't fleshed out in the way that Natural Selection 2 is doing it. So it sounds fantastic, and it sounds like you all have a very solid and loyal fan base. Everything I've seen of it and everything we've at Pixel Judge seen looks fantastic. So readers and listeners, you should definitely check out Natural Selection 2's footage on YouTube and read up on the series. Thank you, Hugh, for being with us today, and we all wish you the best. We hope you throw a great launch party as the game opens up in just over a week.
Ben, thank you very much for those kind words just then. That's a real morale booster, and you can bet I'll be passing on to the team. And thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen about this game.